It is schedule release week in the NFL, and I am creating the perfect 2024 schedule for the Tennessee Titans on today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. It is schedule release week, and it is time to create the perfect 2024 schedule for the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to go week by week of what I hope to see on the Titans schedule. Before we dive into that, thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed to the number one Tennessee Titans podcast in the world. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. Shout out to my everydayers. I have some great content coming your way. Tomorrow, I'm going to go live at 8 p.m. Eastern time when the schedule officially drops to break down each game week by week. And then on Thursday's show, I'm going to give my first official record prediction, again, going week by week through the games, saying which I think the Titans will win, which I think the Titans will lose. The schedule is obviously important with the way things shake out and how they line up. And that's why I'm going over my elite, perfect schedule for the Titans on today's show as a preview for you guys. Before we get into it, though, I do want to talk about a signing that the Tennessee Titans made. The Titans brought in tight end Nick Vannett, and they needed it. They needed a third veteran tight end. It's something that I've been talking about all off season long. Obviously, you have Chigakonkwo and Josh Wiley at the top of things, but you needed another veteran guy that you could trust, because outside of those two guys, you didn't really have anybody of note. You have Thomas Odukoye, but we don't know if he's ever going to turn into a real NFL player after being an international player exemption for the Titans for a couple of years now. The Titans brought in two undrafted free agents, which we talked about earlier this week. My everydayers will remember. Don't know if you can count on any of those guys to make an impact either. So the Titans needed one seasoned veteran tight end, and they get that in Nick Vannett. He's played in 94 games throughout his career, started 43 of them. A guy who's going to be able to block for you and understands the physicality needed in the position, but also has some experience catching the football as well. 91 catches in his career, 877 yards for 6 touchdowns. Obviously, he's more of a depth tight end than a starting tight end, but the Titans truly needed a third veteran tight end, and they get that in Nick Vannett, 6'5", 257 pounds. So really good size, good strength, something that the Tennessee Titans absolutely needed. But with that news being said, let's dive into this schedule, okay? And look, for the Titans, you got a brand new head coach, brand new defensive coordinator, brand new system, brand new vibes all over the organization, okay? You got Will Levis, who played half of a year in his rookie year, but year 2 coming in as the starter, that's going to be a new situation for him. A ton of new players as they flip this roster. I think it's very, very important for the Titans to have some winnable games early on, because I'll be honest, based on what we see from the real schedule when it comes out on Wednesday night, I think there's a chance the Titans get off to kind of a slow start. I think that's very likely. That's very possible that with all the new pieces and all the new systems that the Titans have put in place, that they could potentially get off to a slow start. So having some winnable games out of the gate, I think will be very, very important. And that's why in my perfect schedule for the Titans, I am starting out week 1 with the New England Patriots, who I think is the worst or the weakest or second weakest opponent that the Titans have on their schedule as things stand right now. Obviously, when we get into the season, things change. Teams are better than we think, worse than we think, all of that. But on paper right now, the New England Patriots are the best matchup for the Titans out of the gate. Number one, it's a home game. So the Titans are at home. Gotta love starting there. The Patriots will have Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, or they'll be starting Drake May in his first game ever. I don't think the Patriots have a very good roster, and the Patriots are transitioning with a brand new coach as well, with Gerard Mayo taking over. So with all the newness in New England, the lack of talent that they have, the game being at home, I like the Titans starting with the Patriots in week 1. I think that would be the perfect week 1 matchup. Of course, let me know down below what your perfect week 1 matchup would be for the Titans, or you could tag me on Twitter at TicTacTitans and let me know your thoughts for my podcast, folks. Week number 2, though, time to get on the road. I'd like to go play Chicago. All right, again, a rookie quarterback early in the season. The Bears will probably be a better team later in the year when they've had time to gel and coalesce and all that stuff. So I want to play Chicago early, and it's an away game. You want to knock out some of these away games early on in the season. I don't want to just go home to start the year. I know that sounds good, but then you leave yourself with not a lot of home games at the end of the year. And so you got to have some balance there. So I'm going Chicago week 2 after New England at home in week 1 in the Windy City. Then week 3, I'm going to keep it on the road. Washington Commanders. Okay, again, another rookie quarterback. Another team that I think is very beatable, that the Titans should be better than, with a new head coach and a new coaching staff. It's going to take them time to figure out what they do well. Same with the Titans. So if both of these teams are in a similar spot with who kind of learning what we do well, learning what works for our players, learning what within the coach's new systems fits what they want to do out on the field and what they're capable of executing, all of those things matter. 2 road games back-to-back. I know that doesn't sound great, but when you're taking on 3 rookie quarterbacks to start, or Jacoby Brissett and 2 rookie quarterbacks to start, I think that all balances out in the end, and I think that's a great start for the Titans. And then we keep that going. Week 4, back at home in Nashville, and also want to say for Chicago and Washington, D.C., could be cold there at the end of the year. So let's play those games early. You know what I mean? And then week 4, the Minnesota Vikings. Let's keep it going with the rookie quarterbacks. You're going to be playing Sam Darnold. You're going to be playing J.J. McCarthy. I'm not worried about any of those quarterbacks, and I think both those teams, or all of these teams that we're talking about, will probably be better at the end of the year than they are early in the year because of the nature of all of the change, the nature of having young quarterbacks. Okay, and I like the Vikings at week 4 at home, and I could have put them a little bit earlier, but I wanted them at week 4 because I want the Titans to get some games under their belt, and then I want to see the Titans cornerbacks go up against the wide receivers of the Minnesota Vikings, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. It's going to be an interesting matchup there. But again, I'm starting out that first month, 2 home games, 2 away games, but all young quarterbacks, or maybe Jacoby Brissett in week 1, Drake May. We don't really know for sure what they're going to do there. But for me, again, I think the Titans could get off to a slow start because young players, new coaches, all of that. So I would like to see some winnable games early on with some of the teams, at least on paper, that we think aren't going to be, confirmed playoff contenders. I think Chicago and Minnesota could, probably push for a wild card spot, or, if things go really well, push for the division there. In the NFC North, I think more likely the wild card, obviously. But either way, I'd like to have some of these winnable games early on with these younger quarterbacks, these new coaches. Let's see the Titans against some teams that are also in their position with new players, young quarterbacks, new coaches. I want to see that. So if the Titans get the Patriots, at Chicago, at Commanders, home for the Vikings in the first 4 weeks, I think they're off to a great start. But there are going to be some tough games in there, and we see that in the mid-stretch of the season. Before we get into it, though, I do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. It's winner take all time in the NBA and in the NHL. Playoffs, baby. Playoffs. And FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props. You can bet on who's going to win the series, how many games, the exact order these series are going to go. Make sure that you visit FanDuel.com/locked-on. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on and make every playoff shot count. It's FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Titans fans, let's continue today's perfect schedule prediction. Not prediction, really, because I'm not trying to predict what the schedule will be, but really just my thoughts on what a perfect schedule would be for the Tennessee Titans. We started out with some young quarterbacks early on in the first month of the season, but there is no easy schedule in the NFL at the end of the day because, any given Sunday, as we know, there's a ton of parity in the NFL. That's why it's so great. So no schedule is going to be easy from top to bottom. There's definitely going to be some tough stretches of games, and I want to see that in the middle of the season for the Titans. I want the Titans to get off to an easier start. Let them figure out what they want to do, what works best for them. Let everyone get settled in their new role with their new team, and then let's test it. Let's see what this team is really made of in the middle of the season. So, we're through 4 weeks. Patriots, Bears, Commanders, Vikings. Then, after a home game against the Vikings in week 4, we get the Titans' first primetime game. A Sunday night football matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals. So much story in there. Going back to the 2021 playoff defeat, these teams have had good games for the last few years. A healthy Joe Burrow, and of course, the Cincinnati connection with Brian Callahan, Zach Taylor, the two organizations. There's going to be such good conversation around that game, especially if Cincinnati comes in with a winning record. Imagine the Titans are 4-0, 3-1, coming off that first month of easier games with winnable games, we'll call them. Imagine that. Sunday night football, the Brian Callahan playing Cincinnati in Nashville, all the conversation. It would just be absolutely electric on Sunday night football in week 5. And again, it's a tester. I think the Bengals are going to bounce back this year. I think the Bengals are going to be good again. I think the Bengals are probably going to win their division this year. I called the Ravens winning it last year. I'm calling the Bengals winning it again and taking it back this year. Seeing how the Titans do so, these first 4 weeks were winnable games, but seeing how the Titans stand up against the Bengals at home in primetime, week 5, that would be an excellent tester of how good is this team really. All right. So I would want to see that. And then I follow that up with week 6 with another tester on the road against the Texans. Let's do it. Let's see. You got a good, easy first month. Pick up some W's, and then let's see how you do against the Bengals and on the road against the Texans. I want to see how that works. Let's test this team and see what they're really made of. They're going to be tough games, so it's time. You come back from Houston in week 7, and you go, or week 6, and you go to week 7 at home against the Green Bay Packers. All right, another tough game against a good opponent, but that's going to be a fun one, in my opinion. You got Matt LaFleur, of course, who's a good coach. Jordan Love is ascending. That would be a fun game. Again, these are 3 tough games in a row, but there's nowhere to hide with this schedule. This is, every schedule is going to have their tough parts, and I like seeing what the Titans are made of here in the second month of the season, and that's why week 8, the Titans go back on the road against the Detroit Lions. Now, I'm kind of thinking that the Titans may play the Lions on Thanksgiving. We're seeing these leaks that the Titans are playing on Thanksgiving this year. I don't know if I buy it necessarily, but they could play the Lions on Thanksgiving. I just don't think that that's what's going to happen. If the Titans play on Thanksgiving, I think it'll be the 3rd game, not against the Lions in the middle of the day. I don't think that lines up and makes a lot of sense. So in week 8, finishing off that second month of the season, on the road against Detroit. Again, this is the tester stretch, folks. This is the tester. You got winnable games in the first month, and then you come home against the Bengals in primetime, Sunday night football, on the road against Houston, home for the Green Bay Packers, on the road against the Lions. We're going to know whether the Titans are legit or not after that, okay? So first month, let them get warmed up with winnable games. Second month, let's test where we're at. and see where we need to go and see how close the Titans are to some of these top teams. So let me know about that stretch. Do you think I made it too hard on the Titans? Do you agree with the philosophy there? Let me know what you guys think. But then after that second month of the season, we get into the third month. We get into November when football really, really starts. All right. And now it's time to play division. All right. At the Colts in week 9. All right. I just want to go to Indy, knock them off, and start that third month of the season, right? You follow that up with a home game against the Jets. And again, I have been saying that I want to play the Jets later in the year. They're a team that is super injury prone. And while you could say, I want to play the best version of every team, well, the Titans aren't going to have the best version of themselves every single week, so that's not fair. There are going to be weeks where the Titans have injuries. There are going to be weeks where some of the Titans' best players don't play. That is how the NFL works, all right? Injury rate in the NFL is 100%. Everyone gets injured. It's just about how quickly they can get back on the field, all right? So I would like to play the Jets later in the year, and week 10, after going that tough stretch in the middle on the road to the Colts, and then you get to come home and play the Jets in week 10. To me, that's a bounce back game. If they've had a tough stretch here, get back on the good side of things. And then week 11, head to Jacksonville. Let's do it. Again, division games here on the road against Indy, on the road against Jacksonville. I'm ready for it. I cannot wait for these division games this year. It's going to be so great. And to go on the road and take on these teams, I love that. And if you're following, we've knocked out every away division game. I know it's not going to line up like that, but hit all of them in the middle of the season. And that sets you up for some home division games at the end of the year. So I want winnable games at the beginning, a tough stretch in the middle, and then set up for a great finish to the end of the year. And we're through 11 weeks now. Home for the Patriots, at Chicago Bears, at Commanders, home for the Vikings, home for the Bengals, at Houston, home for the Packers, at Lions, at Colts, home for the Jets, at Jags. Now it's time for Thanksgiving. And the Titans are going to kick things off with a primetime game before they hit their bye and get ready again for a great finish to the season. So I'm going to go over the end of the year right now. Before I do, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Look, we're talking about the NFL schedule coming out. That makes it the perfect time to buy tickets on Game Time for the games that you want to go to this year. You're not going to find better features than you'll find on Game Time. You have killer last-minute deals like flash deals and zone deals. You get all-in prices. Like what the ticket says it is what you're going to pay when you go to check out, which is not very common in the ticket buying industry. You get a panoramic view from your seat, so you know what you're going to be looking at when you sit down. And they have the Game Time guarantee. If you find seats in the same row and same section for less, Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. I'm planning out a perfect schedule for the Titans in 2024. We've gone through the first 11 weeks of the season. Let me know what you think about the schedule that I've plotted out so far. But we're going to start here on the back end of the year with a holiday prime time game for the Titans. Excited to dive into it. Before I do, thank you once again for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first to listen each and every day. Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Remember, tomorrow night, Wednesday night, I'm going to be going live at 8 p.m. Eastern when the schedule officially drops to go week by week through the games and give my reaction. Then on Thursday night show into Friday morning, I'm going to be doing my first official prediction for you guys based on the schedule that we got. Hope you guys enjoy that. And then next week, I'm going to have a ton more schedule breakdown. We're going to preview OTAs because the whole team is coming together, not next week, but the week after to get things going. Very excited for all of that. But with that being said, Thanksgiving. There's an old saying in the NFL. I can hear like the NFL films music behind me. Dun, 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 dun. That's how I feel right now, setting the vibes, right? Thanksgiving is when the NFL season really starts. That's when the teams really reveal themselves and who they are. All right. Thanksgiving. And in week 12, Thanksgiving week, I'm going to go with one of the leaks here. All right. It's probably going to be wrong, but we have seen some rumors online that the Titans will be playing on Thanksgiving, and they have an 8:20 matchup against the Los Angeles Chargers in Los Angeles. Well, I'm riding with that because I want to see the Titans on Thanksgiving. And I think it'd be absolutely fun to do that. Justin Herbert and Will Levis, two absolute cannon-armed quarterbacks. Jim Harbaugh, who's wildly different than Brian Callahan. I think that would be an incredibly fun matchup on Thanksgiving. You get your traditional matchups with the Cowboys and the Lions early in the day, and then you get two teams that are just, well, the Chargers probably won't want to air it out because they're going to be such a run-dominant team, but Justin Herbert certainly can air it out. So you could get some very exciting action in that game. Let's do Thanksgiving, Thursday night football, 8:20 in Los Angeles against the Chargers. Now, traveling across the country to Los Angeles can be a tough thing for teams on the East Coast. I know that Tennessee isn't the East Coast, but eastern part of the country. It can be tough to travel all the way over. So after week 12 on Thursday night football, the Titans get their bye. I love having a late bye. That's what I want. I want the season beat you up. And if you have your bye too early and you got to play 10, 11 straight weeks of football to the finish line, it's just hard. So I prefer the bye week at the end of the year and having it at week 13 after a Thursday night game. Now the Titans get 3 days after Thursday to Sunday of extra rest, a full week of the bye week of rest. So now we're at 10 days. And then the next full week leading up to the next game. So that is like 17 days between games. Rest up, heal injuries, get ready. Remember, we had winnable games at the beginning. We had a tough stretch in the middle. And now the Titans get a huge gap of rest. And not only that, but week 14 at home, Monday night football, Titans versus Texans. Titans wearing the Oiler jerseys. I can see it. I can see it in my mind's eye right now. Titans, Texans, Monday night football. Off 17, 18 days of rest for the Titans to smash Houston and let them know you aren't taking over this division for the next decade like you thought. And doing it in the Oilers jerseys. That right there is perfect. That is cinema. Okay? It's a movie, folks. It's a movie. But anyway, we move past week 14 at home against Houston on Monday Night Football after an 18-day rest for the Titans. And we go up to Buffalo. And hey, can the Titans play in the cold weather now? They changed their identity as a team. They're going to throw the ball more. Can they play in cold weather? I want to see it. So at Buffalo in week 15. Follow that up with the home game against the Colts in week 16. Will Anthony Richardson still be playing by then? Who knows? Guy loves getting hurt. So we'll see. But at home, week 16, again, the end of the season, the last 5 weeks of the year, 3 home division games. I think that is ideal for the Titans. Just absolutely perfect. If the division is on the line at the end of the year, the Titans are going to have 3 home games against their division opponents to make it happen. I love that. So, Houston, week 14, Monday Night Football. Week 15 at the Buffalo Bills. See how they play in the cold. Week 16, home against Indianapolis. And then week 17, we're going back to Miami. Yes. The man who owns the Miami Dolphins, Will Levis, goes back to Miami in week 17. I just think Will Levis is going to own the Dolphins his whole career. It's a projection I'm making. I think he's going to crush them. All right. He just has that confidence, knows he can win there. They don't have the best home field advantage or anything like that. So it's a week 17 road game. But I mean, and if I recall, that Monday Night Football game, there was a big contingent of Tennessee Titans fans there. Like, you could hear real cheers for the Titans in Miami. And Miami fans may not be hyped to play the Titans, so that'll mean more Titans fans because Miami fans aren't as concerned with going. I love that. At Miami, week 17, it's warm, it's nice, but it's not too hot because it's not too early in the season. It's in December. That is good. Or it might be January. Week 17 might be January at that point. Or it's the last weekend of December. Either way. I would love that. And if they made it a Saturday night primetime game, that would be even more fun. Because we got a great game from those teams last year on Monday Night Football. So why not give them the primetime love again on that, whenever the last couple of weeks of the season come around, they do some Saturday games. I think that Miami game could be a great one. And then finally, week 18, as we always do, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Home against Jacksonville. Send them home again. Send themselves to the playoffs. After 3 home division games in the last 5 weeks, cap it off with Jacksonville in week 18. I think this is a great schedule. So one more run through. Week 1, home against the New England Patriots. Week 2, away at the Chicago Bears. Week 3, away at the Washington Commanders. Week 4, home, Minnesota Vikings. Week 5, home, Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday Night Football. Week 6, away at the Houston Texans. Week 7, home versus the Green Bay Packers. Week 8, away at the Detroit Lions. Week 9, away at the Indianapolis Colts. Week 10, home versus the New York Jets. Week 11, away at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Week 12, at the Los Angeles Chargers. Thursday Night Football on Thanksgiving. Week 13, bye. Week 14, home, Houston Texans. Monday Night Football, wearing the Oilers uniforms. Week 15, at the Buffalo Bills, away. Week 16, home versus the Indianapolis Colts. Week 17, away at the Miami Dolphins. Week 18, home against the Jacksonville Jaguars to cap things off. Let me know how you would grade my mock schedule for the Tennessee Titans. Again, I'll be back with you guys live tomorrow night to break down the real schedule. Can't wait to go through it. But with that being said, that's going to do it for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.